Hi, I'm João Lima, editor of the Economy, and this is Frontline. Here with me I've got Nigel Bayliff, CEO of Aquacomms. Nigel, thanks a lot for talking to me.
No problem.
You run a large portfolio of subsea and terrestrial cables that connect both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. How is your network helping data centers?
Okay, our network runs from essentially New York to London. We run across the Atlantic Ocean from Long Island to Western Island, County Mayo, a little tiny village called Killala. We then run terrestrially across Ireland to Dublin, where there's obviously a huge concentration of data centres. We connect to those data centres with high capacity services all the way through to the data centre hubs in the US, Ashburn, Virginia, Secaucus in New Jersey, and in the New York data centre points. We also carry that capacity across 2 cables to the UK and down to London, where we again connect all the big carrier data centres. We run the lowest layer of the infrastructure. We run the train tracks of the internet. So the large data centers, the big hyperscale operators, the internet content players, the OTTs, they all buy big pipes on our network to shoot the high capacity data across to the other side of the Atlantic, then out via terrestrial networks to edge data centers, and then to you and I as consumers. So we're kind of a hidden gem in the industry. We sit under the sea. We deploy our capital by building very sophisticated things in the bottom of the ocean to run for 25 years with no maintenance, like a space program reliability, and to carry these enormous amounts of data, 200 terabits of data per second underneath the ocean, with as little maintenance and as little breaks or as little interference as possible.
Do you think you have enough recognition as a critical infrastructure provider?
By governments, yes. Mm. By people in our industry who buy these large pieces of capacity, yes. By the general public, no, but I'm not so sure that, it's a bit like the mechanics inside. Yeah. You watch the TV at home, do you really think about how the signal gets from, to your TV set? So I'm happy in one sense that critical infrastructure is not very well known about, because then the people who've got the wrong, nasty ideas don't know where it is and don't know how to affect it. But, in a way, it's also an unsung part of the internet. It is the internet. 99.9% of the internet is under the sea on cables. It's not in the air in satellites. Mm. That's the last mile to your mobile phone and your data device. It's most of it is fibre optic, under the ground in your country, under the sea to the next country.
But then when you deploy these cables, what is the process like? From the idea into actually deploying the things?
It's a long process. First of all, you have to have the market need, and that's been an issue on the Atlantic for the last 10 or 15 years, that there was a little bit of an oversupply around about the boom and bust period. But that's starting to wash out now, and some of those cables are retiring. So you have a good market need. You have to pick a safe place to land, safe place to run your cable. The people that threaten the cables are fishermen dragging their trawler nets, ships that may deploy their anchors. These cables are only 17 to 20 millimeters diameter. They're not huge, they're easy to damage. So we spend an awful lot of money, probably a year in advance, planning the precise route under the sea. We survey it with sonar, with bathymetry data, and we bury it on the continental shelf. The reason we chose Killala in Ireland is it's the shortest continental shelf before you get into deep water. Deep water for us is deeper than 1,000 meters, because nobody fishes there. There are no sea monsters. Nothing's going to affect the cable. It sits benignly on the bottom of the sea. We route it around all of the undersea features, volcanoes, cracks in the Earth's surface, etc. We come back up onto the continental shelf and into a secure facility. So we're planning big, secure sites, but they're nondescript. They don't look like, it doesn't say big sign landing station. You wouldn't know what it was, and it's the core of the internet. So it's probably a 2-year planning process and a 3-year building process. Overall 5 years, and then every 5 years you'll start to look again at another route, keeping it separate for resilience, because you don't want one dodgy fisher guy who's going to cut several cables at once. You want to spread them out across the Atlantic Ocean.
So you're planning to deploy a new cable in 5 years?
I would say new cables are being talked about all the time on different routes. We're actually planning to extend our network from Ireland into the UK again, a second cable for more resilience.
The Celtics Connect.
This is Celtics Connect 2. So Celtics Connect 1 goes into Wales. Celtics Connect 2 will go into Lancashire, into Blackpool. We will then run across to Newcastle, where we work with a company called Stellium Data Centres, Cobalt Mills. We'll run a cable from Newcastle up to Denmark to pick up a lot of the Nordic and Scandinavian traffic, so that we can bring it across seamlessly onto the cable that goes across the Atlantic and shoot that capacity across to the United States.
And as you got a presence in the States and you're looking to expand even more in Europe,
Yeah.
is there any plans to go into other markets, so Asia, Africa, South America?
I've run and operated cables in virtually every part of the world, and I think different parts of the world have, their economies are in a better situation, and sometimes this is a good place right now to be building cables. Excuse me, we're always studying different areas, but we'd want to do it connecting from the ends of our cables. So, I work with another associate company that has cables in the Caribbean. We'll see how we can join together with them and build this kind of cable grid across the world. Maybe not all of it ourselves, maybe with partners, with alliances, etc.
But if you look, for example, at the south of the Atlantic,
Yep.
When we look at South America and Africa, some of the cables are being deployed now, especially
Yep.
our main one,
Yep.
connecting Luanda to Fortaleza in Brazil.
Yep,
What's your view of the market there? Is there enough demand?
Yeah, look,
for you to look
I
into
know
it?
Antonio, I know the Angola Cables guys and the SAC cable. It's a good design of cable. I was also previously running the organisation Huawei Marine Networks, who are building the second cable from Cameroon to Brazil. So I think any ocean that doesn't have some connectivity across it is potentially ripe for a route, just for resilience and diversity purposes. Africa is a growing series of economies. South America is a growing series of economies. There's no reason why that shouldn't work. Where you build one, you actually need to build two. Because if that one starts to take a lot of traffic and then gets cut, for the 10 or 15 days, 10 or 15 days, this is not 4 hours, quick fix. 10 or 15 days it takes to fix the cable. You need to have, a sharing capability with another cable. So, I get that anywhere that something's built, there's two. And, it's as good a place as any to be building cables.
And then looking at the market generally, do you see enough demand to carry on building despite all the uncertainty around the world?
No, the demand curve keeps doing a J curve. I mean, I've been in the industry 30 years and everybody disbelieves forecasts, and then forecasts are always exceeded. It's a bizarre phenomenon. You and I are voracious consumers of data, whether we think we are or not. You buy a car in the next 10 years, it'll probably have a bigger data rate than your iPad did 5 years ago. It's, all of these things add up to the requirement to ship this data across oceans and transcontinental boundaries, and that is, a fairly voluble market for us.
Okay, Nigel, thanks a lot for talking to me. Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.